And I'm back. This is Campfire Tales, and I'm your host, the Old Man of the Adirondacks. For the past couple of weeks, I've been telling tales of Tom Foolery, aka the Green Hatchet Man. In past episodes, Tom's met French Louis, and Tom's met the Sasquatch, or Bigfoot. He also had his first encounter with Daunchy, and Daunchy is kind of a mythical creature who previously owned the green hatchet that Tom now calls his own. Both Daunchy and the green hatchet are a bit mysterious. We do know that the hatchet has some mystery that surrounds it. It's beautifully made, magical, and was made by Daunchy. Green Hatchet Man tales are still told around campfires at Deerfoot. That's a summer camp for boys just north of the village here. And these tales that I'm telling now are new. It's kind of a new twist on the Green Hatchet Man. And I would like to share another new one with you right now. Tom Foolery sat quietly in his cave, sipping a hot cup of coffee. Now, as you know, if you've listened, coffee is one of Tom's favorite things. That, his trusty loincloth, it's green, by the way, and his trusty coonskin hat. Anyway, Tom felt no need to share with his new visitor, as he was not welcome. The two occasionally glowered at each other in frustration. "You can leave now," said Tom. "'Tis late. I need my rest." "I don't need no pet nohow." The chagrin in his voice more than evident. "Me? This is me cave. Get ye gone," retorted Daunchy, his voice quivering with anger. "I be here longer than you live." You guys remember Daunchy, right? He is the one who crafted the tool that Tom now claimed as his own. Daunchy, well, he looks a lot like a favorite cartoon character from a time when cartoons were innocent and had no agenda. He was none other than Captain Caveman, or however Captain Caveman used to yell. If you are under 35 years of age, you may need to Google him. Just do it after the story. You may want to watch a few episodes too, to get a better feel of who this man is, for some of Daunchy's mannerisms are very similar. Who knows, you may even enjoy the clean and wholesome content. Keep in mind here that not much is known about Daunchy. He is very mysterious, even to me. I do know that Foolery has been cursed by our hairy friend for taking possession of his hatchet called Kong. Cursed to forever have whatever trick or prank Tom pulls will in the end be unfortunate for Tom Foolery. The man with the hatchet, though, he doesn't quite understand what this means. He will, though, and soon. Let's get back to the story, shall we? The two argued for quite some time before a very tense, even visceral silence followed. The hair on Daunchy's back was standing on end. His fists were clenched tightly, and he was huffing like a bear might when properly agitated. His eyes were bulging and laced with red. One might think he was surely going to explode. Tom, on the other hand, was sitting Indian style on the floor with his back against the cool back wall of his cave. With his coonskin hat pulled low over his eyes, he held his small axe in one hand and a now cool corncob pipe in the other. Smoking was something Tom quit years ago. It was reserved now for times of agitation, worry, or stress. The tin cup that he previously held was carelessly tossed in the corner, with the dredges still in it. What was left of the fire was in desperate need of attention, if warmth was something the two desired, as it was a cool night and the cave was dank and damp. Stubbornly, neither man moved. Eventually, Tom moved in a huff to grab all of his blankets to cover himself. He offered none to Daunchy, not that he would have accepted such an act of kindness. He preferred to shiver, and shiver he did. Between the knocking of Daunchy's knees and the clacking of his teeth, there was no sleep to be had for either of the cave dwellers. Indeed, the very walls echoed. Stubborn? Yeah. There would be no budging for either of these two fellows on this night. A simple act of kindness is all that it would take, but the offer of a blanket would not be given. By morning, both characters were downright miserable. One, because his whole body hurt from all of the violent shivering. The other, because he voluntarily laid awake all night in anger because of the circumstances that he found himself in. Why am I so darned mad? Tom asked himself as the sky outside stretched out to the sun below. Foolery shook his head in dismal frustration. This cannot continue. What in tarnation do you want with me anyway? Tom asked his companion angrily. Tom was answered with only a gusty harumph from his companion. Carefully, Tom began to roll the situation around in his tired mind. In the end, all he could think was useless. He could do nothing to solve this problem. It's just going to remain the same. It was time for a prank, Tom thought to himself. What do you people eat? Asked Tom innocently. Receiving no answer, Tom got up from his pile of furs and blankets and gathered in his pack basket what he would need and stomped off from the cave with the pack slung over his left shoulder. With the cave now just out of sight, Tom sat on the bank of the Kunjuma with his now bare feet soaking in the cool water. He had learned that it was much easier to chew his toenails down after a proper soaking. With his feet now properly clean, Foolery fashioned a toothpick out of a fresh birch sprig for its minty flavor to clean his teeth. Kong was the perfect tool for this job. It was, in fact, the perfect task as well. What a prize, Tom thought. Foolery spent the majority of the day gathering what he would need to prepare a special meal for his new acquaintance. He procured dandelion leaves, blackberries, strawberries, and cottontail shoots. He even made a quick stop to Newton's Corners for beans to bake, olive oil, and fresh coffee. It cost Tom the clothes on his back, literally, even his trusty coonskin hat. At least he was able to keep his even more trusty green loincloth. Nobody would want that anyhow. Returning to his cave, Tom noticed that the fire had been rekindled and things had been tidied up. His plates had even been cleaned. His coffee cup, too. Astonished, he began to prepare his special meal for his special friend, uncaring of this act of kindness. Where was he, anyway? Every ingredient Tom procured had a singular purpose. You see, Every ingredient was a natural laxative. Daunchy was in for a very uncomfortable night. Foolery would have to be careful, though. He had no desire to suffer such consequences. With his special meal carefully prepared, Tom called to Daunchy. "I made dinner. Get you here before it's cold." As if on cue, Daunchy slouched through the entrance and cautiously took a seat next to the fire. Tom laid out a plate of dandelion and berry salad, topped with olive oil, baked beans, and a cup of strong dandelion tea sweetened with honey. "Enjoy," Foolery said as sweetly as he could muster. Tom's own plate was much smaller and contained only beans. In his cup, only coffee, careful not to consume enough for problems of his own. Daunchy enjoyed the meal so much that he had not one or two, but three full plates and 2 cups of tea. Confident in his craft, Tom was sure that Daunchy was in for a miserable and stinky night. Grinning, Tom offered him a nightcap of strong coffee. Content and with full bellies, the two stretched out on the cave floor and dozed as they sipped their coffee. Tom could only smile and wait for the buffoonery to follow. There was a lot of food left over, as he wanted to be sure there was more than enough to accomplish his task. This was forgotten, however, until way after dark. What Tom could not know is that Daunchy had 2 stomachs and was designed for just such a meal. And Daunchy was aware of what Tom was trying to do. Now, well after dark, Tom was woken rather suddenly by a loud scuffle in his cave. Tom quickly sat up to observe what he thought would be Daunchy uncomfortably removing himself to the stone commode just over the hill. What he actually saw was not Daunchy. He was in fact not there at all. What he did see was a surprise indeed. A big mama bear and 2 cubs were partaking in the leftovers. In hindsight, he supposed he should have cleaned up after dinner. Those 3 bears could eat. Not only did they finish what was left of dinner, but every cache of food Tom had hidden around his cave. Those bears climbed trees and dug holes. Every bit of food was gone. After having their fill, the brood of bear returned to the cave for a nap. Before the nap, though, the cubs had to tussle a bit. This tussle in the cave was fun to watch, but was disastrous for everything else in the small cave. All poor Tom could do was watch helplessly. After tugging his blankets and fur away for their own bed, Foolery was left alone in the rear of his cave with nothing to keep warm. Unable to leave, as the 3 bears were now fast asleep, blocking the only exit. It was dark, very dark. The only light Tom could make out was what seemed to be a soft glow of a pipe being smoked just outside. The scent is what gave it away. Cherry. Tom was at a loss. Who in the world is outside my cave? Tom wondered. "Daunchy," he muttered under his breath. At this, there was a quiet chuckle from behind that pipe. "Daunchy," he muttered a little louder. The chuckle trailed off, and the only sound was the gentle snoring of his fellow cave mates. It was Tom's turn to shiver. He drew his knees to his chest for warmth and shook, teeth clattering and shoulders shaking so violently that his head occasionally bounced painfully against the wall. Oh, how he missed the warmth of his trusty coonskin hat. "What is that smell?" Tom pondered. It stank. Foul air drifted deeper into the cave. Tom learned on this night that the beans did not agree with his furry foraging companions. The longer he sat, the more it stank. Eventually, the nocturnal beasts did stir. They got to their feet, stretched their limbs, and proceeded to relieve themselves all over Tom's blankets that they had previously borrowed for their bed. Daunchy Foolery seethed. There was now laughter outside as the bears sleepily wandered off. "What the matter with ye?" Daunchy asked innocently. At this, Daunchy left as well, with a spring in his step and a song in his heart. "Daunchy!" screamed Tom so loudly that it could be heard from Newton's Corners. Tom Foolery was left with a gigantic, smelly mess to clean up and so much work to do in order to replace all that he had lost. First, though, Tom needed a raccoon. His head was tired of being so cold. This was the first taste for Tom Foolery of his new curse. Too bad for Tom, he was a slow learner, for he was already planning his next prank to get back at Daunchy. Well, that's the end. That's the story. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm the old man of the Adirondacks, and I would love to hear from you. I'd love some feedback. What do you guys want to hear? What adventures should Tom and Daunchy go off on? I can be reached at oldmanadk@gmail.com, or I've got a Facebook group, oldmanadk. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to see pictures of what you guys are doing in the Adirondacks. I'd love to hear about critters that you've seen, scary noises that you've heard. I'd like to hear your stories as well, or read them. I would love to share with others what you guys are doing. Well, I'm the old man of the Adirondacks, and this has been Campfire Tales. I hope you all a great weekend, a great vacation. Stay dry out there. Get some bug spray. You're going to need it. This has been Campfire Tales. I bid you adieu.